That looks awesome. Hey everyone, welcome back. You guys know that I get excited about trying new things, new bikes, new equipment, new ways of using them. And today is one of those special days because I am getting to try a new bike. Not any bike, but a Mullet bike. And that's not because we haven't seen mixed wheel bikes before, but it is because the PeaceMaker made by Mullet Cycles, it's 150mm full suspension that has been designed with that in mind. And for those of you curious of what I'm riding today, remember I have a part 1 video in which I'm giving you all the details. 29 in front, 275 rear, so the bottom bracket, the geometry, the suspension, the single pivot suspension, it's just being fine-tuned to make this a special bike. Let's try it out. Let's see a couple of things. One, how the bike feels, position in the saddle, and two, I'm gonna look at pedal bob. What they say is that because we have this pivot right on top of your bottom bracket, well, you're not pedaling into the shock. All right, let's see how that feels. And the very first thing that I can tell you is that it just feels soft. It's pretty steep here. First impressions of that rear suspension is that it's super plush. This feels good. Actually feels very good. Something that's interesting is I don't feel pedal bob. However, if you're looking at the shock, look at that. It's just very active. So you can't really say that there's no pedal bob. It's just that I don't feel like it ruins my climbing power or performance, which is really interesting. These are really steep switchbacks, but the bike just goes pretty nicely. I guess it's just a good position in the saddle. Construction is good. And on this last bit over here, I'm gonna try to give it that pedal setting on the shock, so that should add more compression. Let's see how this feels. Oh, seated is better. This is a really steep hill, and I'm not on the 51 in the back. I'm actually on the 45. I don't feel the need to jump to that easiest gear, which is pretty interesting. Shock in that pedal position definitely helps. So steep climbs like this, definitely use it. Whew. I'm surprised. Very good pedaling, guys. Whew. Look at that. And in the next section here, I'm gonna have a few rock gardens, a lot of roots, and what I want to see is whether this bike hangs up into obstacles a bit more like a 27.5 or 29er. What they say is that because you have a different axle height on the rear versus the front, the whole bike is a bit raised up the front, and because of that, it just rolls over obstacles a bit easier than otherwise. So let's see it. Okay, let's see if I can take my 29 route. No problem so far. Wow, like a pro. I wanted to do this section again. It's the first time it just felt really good. All right, oh, I messed up the line. No problem. There's something going on with the pedaling on this. It seems to be very efficient. I don't know. Feels as if I'm stronger. I like that. Just a little rock here and there. It's interesting. I don't feel that smaller rear being any different than the front. 29er. Nice push over there. I like that steeper seat-to angle of the new bikes, but when it's too steep, I just feel like it puts too much pressure on my hands, and that's not the case here. This is actually perfectly balanced, front and rear. Love it. Nice and poppy. And the theory of cornering with the Mullet is based on the fact that the rear wheel is smaller, so it would have a tighter turning radius compared to your wagon wheel 29er front. What that means is that when you're leaning the bike over to corner, the back end is going to cut in a bit sharper and it's not going to push you forward, and that's going to help not only the front wheel to go around the turn nicer, but it's just going to have a different position of the chassis without relying on that super low bottom bracket that is so common in the modern bikes of today. Definitely has to do with the cornering technique, but it also has to do with the bike's ability to corner at speed. And this bike, I can't fault it, man. Whether you lean the bike hard, like I'm doing here, or you're just steering with your handlebar, this just corners naturally, intuitively. How would we call that? Whoa, that bottom bracket seems to be a bit higher than what I have on my Tallboy, for instance, because I could pedal in corners like here without worrying about hitting with my pedals. So could be an advantage depending on what kind of terrain you're riding on. This little trail, rough trade, has a few tight corners in it, a few rock gardens, but listen to how quiet this bike is, guys. That elevator chainstay doesn't give the chain to bang on anything, so it's just quiet. Now lean it over, let it flow. It loves being leaned over a little bit. Nice. Little drop over here. No problem. And these are really tight. And with my 29ers, I would have felt the bike push me forward a little bit, or quite a bit. Now with this feels more like a 27.5 cornering, but without that twitchiness of 27.5. Must come down to the geometry. What the heck? Of course. Here we go. It's just the cornering, it just gives you confidence. Usually on a new bike, on that corner, on the log, I'll be a bit more tentative. But just not with this. Really interesting. When pointing down, geometry is really important, obviously. We're talking about the reach. This 457 for a medium frame is perfect for me. Obviously the head angle It's important. Whoa. I just look for the rougher parts of that. Woo. We're gonna go down what is called Digger Downhill. See how good this bike is. I mean, companies usually would say confidence inspiring bicycle, whatever that means. But I can tell you, this bike has plenty of that. Woo! That's fun. It's fast and poppy. It's playful all around. Sounds so fine. You can see my smile. Couple of firm corners here. There we go. Oh man, it's awesome. Lots of fun. Very fast. I know you're gonna ask me about the weight of this bike, and in this configuration with those XTR pedals, bike comes up to 33 pounds-ish. That is just under 15 kilograms. And yes, you're probably not gonna win a cross-country race with this bike, but this is not meant for that. This is more of an enduro type of bike, and that weight is not necessarily a bad thing. Next time you have the opportunity, read a bit about the sprung versus unsprung weight. That ratio, the better it is, the better your suspension is gonna work. So who knows, maybe that's why this feels so good. You know, Americans love their acronyms, right? So dirt bike geometry, that's because dirt bikes use a smaller rear wheel and a bigger front. DSSP, that's double stacked single pivot suspension. Again, acronyms, whatever they call them, it seems to work. That double stacked bearing here seems to stiffen up the rear end quite a bit. How much flex is in that swing arm? I don't see any. If I just push on the pedals, the only flex that I see comes from the tires, pretty much, with very little from the frame itself. And to just say playful on this bike, it's a bit of an understatement. Put the bike in more capable hands and you'll be surprised at what it can do. Very poppy, super easy to lift that front wheel, and overall for me, it's been a joy to test. And I think that's the end of my video, guys. What do you think? Would you try a Mullet bike? I would highly recommend it. Do you have any questions for me? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to watch that part 1 that I posted with all the details. And until next time, see you on the trails. Cheers. Okay. Let me turn this back to straight and continue on. This is absolute jewelry. How am I gonna get this dirty? Oh my God.